G'day guys, welcome back. It's Dr. Cam and Kyle Riley here. We are into part 3 of the webinar series for the fitness professional of the future and bringing personalized health to personal trainers. We're really thrilled that you've made it this far. I mean, to tolerate Kyle and I for this long is a fair feat in itself. And hopefully today you're going to get some really cool information around coaching. You're going to understand how different brains are actually going to need different kinds of information. We've got a heap of information on how you can learn a lot more about this stuff if it's really piqued your interest and you're wanting to take it a bit further. And just to hear some experiences from my practice as well. I've seen about 300 people now with this platform, and the kind of results that I've got and also the way it's changed my practice has been absolutely huge. So I'm going to share some of those things with you as well so you can get a bit of a real world tip into what happens. So let's get into it without further ado, but we're going to summarize webinar 2 just over the next few minutes just to start. Alrighty guys, let's get into webinar part 3 of 3, the future of the fitness professional. This is all about you understanding the value of coaching, the value of behavior change, because the ultimate fitness professional, whether they be a PT, whether they be a dietitian, whether they be an exercise physiologist, whether they be a GP, all of these types of professions are actually going to need to know how to communicate information. Patients and clients are actually going to be able to find their own information in the years to come. 5-10 years, we'll be able to Google, or platforms like this will be freely accessible to everybody. So the information isn't actually going to be a problem. The problem is going to be people putting it into practice, people being motivated, people actually doing what they're meant to do. Because regardless, humans are very, very good at getting in their own road. And so what we want you to get out of today is if you can learn how to motivate people in the way that's going to motivate them, you're going to make a huge impact on your business, and you're going to be a professional that is still around and kicking goals when everyone's got so much information at their fingertips. So we'll quickly recap on part 2. Which we really spoke about, the technology that exists within ph360 and how it allows full personalization of health guidance. So you're not actually telling people what to do when you've got this ph360 platform. You're coaching them off this platform with really, really accurate information, and that's important. So you're acting as a tour guide through their genetic information. What it also does is allows a much more accurate and tailored approach for individuals. Well, we went through a couple of case studies in part 2 about different people and how differently focused their programs have got to be based on the different genes that they have. This is really, really important. Having all the info is only 20% of the game. So now knowing that we need to be coaching people and that different people need different motivation and different support, that technical information, yeah, it's 20% for sure, and that's a very, very important 20%. But 80% is going to be getting people across the line and just getting them to do what they're supposed to do. The story that I tell all the time, particularly at our 3-day conferences and things like that, and when I'm doing a lot of teaching around the country with this type of information, I'm always talking about, I went to uni for 10 years and I'm literally sitting here telling my clients, please just eat spinach, or please just put some garlic in your food because it's good for you. It's not this complex molecular biology that you learn, at uni. It's actually the really, really simple behavioral stuff and how people have got to get that done. So if you want to check out, if you haven't seen part 2 or part 1 of the series, it's highly advised that you do that. This next section is going to make a lot more sense if you've got the grounding for 1 or 2, which is all part of this free webinar series, which you can find at this website. So let's get into the content for today. So when I'm thinking about coaching, it's really about how you set up the initial consultation is so important, and how you understand people and how they work is going to be so critical in that initial, and that's what's going to allow you to take them all the way through to results. Knowing the difference between people will allow different results for different people and the kinds of results that people actually turn up for. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you 4 different examples, and we're going to start with the ecto-endo, or we call them the diplomats. As you can know, they're a much cruisier type of brain. From an initial contact, I'll just get that video out of the way. From an initial contact point of view, and this is a really important one for sales conversions as well, this is the type of brain that is actually going to take more time when they're making decisions. They're not going to want to make snap decisions in a consultation. They're not going to be wanting to commit their whole selves to everything straight away. They're actually quite reserved. And so if you know that from the initial contact, from the initial consultation, from the initial discussion about them actually engaging with your services, knowing that they're going to need time to think about it is really important. The classic thing we say when we're teaching our guys is, if a diplomat says yes to something, it means yes in a month, and I'm going to think about it in between then. So if you know that that's the case, then you won't be pushing them for a sales conversion. You won't be pushing them to make big changes straight away. You'll actually be really honoring them to take their time with these things, because they'll actually get really great results when they do that. Oh, okay. And then we've got the priority areas for them. This is what's really fascinating and what has absolutely changed my practice as well. A diplomat, their priority is the environment, the living environment that they're in. There are particular things about their living environment that make such a dramatic change to their health, the way their brain processes the world, and even down to it can affect their cravings. After that, the talents. Are they putting their talents and the thing that they're really, really good at, are they putting it to use? And if they aren't, it can cause an ongoing stress in their life. And now the reason why I speak about this with, I guess, excitement is firstly because this is really different. This is understanding that someone's environment is actually a greater priority than their exercise and food, and that it's going to allow the exercise and food to do its work better is something that we often don't talk about. But when you actually speak to a diplomat about their living environment, and if it's not right, they can't get anything done. Like their ability to stay motivated for exercise, their ability to get the food cooked and prepped and all that sort of stuff just goes out the window. As soon as we get the environment and talent sorted out, it's like their brain goes, okay, cool. What I'm here for and like my area is actually really cool. Now I can focus on my exercise and food, and it takes that stress off their body as well. So there's going to be a number of examples like that. I'm not going to go into the same level of detail for each of them, but you're going to start to see that there's a priority for these different bodies that makes such a big difference to the way their body operates. From a motivation point of view, they need information and they need everything to be on their schedule. So this is a very, very important thing with diplomats, is that they're going to need information. They're going to need to go away and have a think about it. They're going to need to process stuff and work stuff out. And that takes time, and it needs to be on their timeline as well. This is the thing that we see with diplomats in stressful jobs. It's always stressful if it's not on their schedule. As soon as you put things back on their schedule, they don't stress as much anymore, and that's really interesting. So having a known plan for a diplomat is really important, and if you've got a really good structure for your programs, and you give them that known plan and they know exactly what's coming and know exactly what's going to happen as a result, then they're going to feel really happy and really safe within that. And finding a routine is going to be so, so important for diplomats. They're not people who like jumping in and out of different things. They like having steady, expected, their timeline type events through their life. So just these things, and I know these things seem like really subtle things, but these are the types of things that actually make the difference between this person firstly engaging in your services, then continuing with your services and getting the result which they turned up for in the first place, and the result that you actually are in this business to create. So these types of small things are absolutely invaluable. Now we're going to take this to the other end of the circle, and we're going to start seeing what the other end of the world looks like. So the initial contact is they're happy to take risks. We had the diplomat who wanted to take more time and really have a think about it. If you can get an activator or a meso at the right time, you just say, let's do this. I dare you, or I bet you. They're going to say, all right, sweet, let's go for it. Like they're much more inclined to make an impulsive decision. So as a result, you can just get into the action phase with them a lot faster. The priority areas for them, movement is their absolute number one. If they are not moving, stuff is going to be going wrong. There is no doubt about that. And if the food isn't there to match that movement, then their body's really going to struggle and they're much more likely to get run down. After that, social is actually one of their big priority areas. And this isn't, yes, they do need social contact, but one of the big things for an activator is that they can they can be a little bit blunt at times. And it's because they just speak their mind and they just say exactly what they've got to say. And sometimes that can come across to people like it's anger, but actually it's not anger. It's just the way they're expressing themselves. But if they don't know that about themselves, it can create serious resentment within their friends, and even within partnerships. And so it's been incredible working with activators, talking to them about their social aspect of things and how much stress that's reduced out of their life just by giving them some tips that have been sort of based on their individual profile. As far as motivation goes, these guys are less detailed and they're more about challenge. They may ask for more detail, and that's cool, but they're not going to be asking for the same level of detail as some other types of brains, particularly down the crusader and sensor end. So, and they're definitely not going to need as much info as the diplomats or as much time. And if you can challenge them or bet them to, the next thing, that's a great way to stimulate their motivation, because they're very competitive. So they're going to need variety, and they need that to stay motivated. They love stuff that's explosive. So, we've spoken about the HIIT training, but, changing up their program, less planning, more kind of unexpected, surprises, which create a little bit of adrenaline, which make them get a little bit more excited. Again, this is very different to the diplomats, right? The diplomats are totally cruisy. I want my plan, and these guys are the other end. So if you try and apply the same strategies coaching-wise to these two people, one of them's going to love you, the other one's going to hate you because you're doing exactly not what they want. And that's a really cool realization to have. And a lot of you guys out there who have been in the business for a few years, you will know that there are ways that you've got to talk to people that are different, and you get a different result from that as well. This is just giving that a whole lot more science, and actually you see it in their profile, so you can be really exacting. So the Guardian, the initial contact, this is the pure endo, is all about rapport. They actually don't care what you know. They don't care how much study you've done. All they care about is, are you going to support them? Are you going to care for them? Are you going to nurture them? Because they are busy nurturing everybody else in their life. And as long as you have that rapport, as long as you have that relationship start up, it will be the big driving factor of what's going to keep this type of client around. Our priority areas are social, food, and exercise. So their social aspect needs to be bang on the mark. They need to know that the friends and family that they hold very dear to their heart are safe, and that they feel supported within that network as well. So without that, their body will just want to stall, because it'll feel like the whole community is under stress, and in that case, it'll have to conserve energy. So once you get the social life sorted out, the food and the exercise have a really big impact. As far as a motivation is concerned, they're not self-starters generally. They're going to need consistent follow-up. And this is the type of client generally who says, no, I need to see you weekly. Like, I need to be coming in weekly. I need to be motivated through this. And I really want to, really want to get into this, but I need some help along the way. Some self-aware guardians will say that regularly, but if they're not self-aware, I do recommend like weekly visits, and it makes a huge difference. This is just for coaching. Training is a completely different game. Obviously, you might be doing 2 weeks with activators, but when we're talking about the coaching and actually building this kind of support network, they're going to need weekly contact at least. They will be committed to you, and they'll need absolute family support, but the reason why they will be turning up is to not let you down. It's like they're nurturing you. They are also the type of client that are more likely to bring you brownies, even if they're not on your genetic, recommendations. They will still be the ones who bring you cakes. And I've still got a beautiful guardian client of mine who brings me like the most epic chocolate brownie every Christmas. It's amazing, and birthday, and it lasts about a day in my house. So, and then the family support. Them having family support is going to be the most important thing to them staying motivated. If they don't have that family support, they'll be feeling like they're putting their family out, which makes it harder for them to do their thing. Now, you compare that to the Crusader. The initial contact is not about rapport at all. It's not about, how good a bloke you are. It is just, or girl, it is just give me the information and let me get out of here. It's like, I'm counting the dollars and I'm counting the seconds. It doesn't make sense for me to sit here any longer than I have to. I just want information. That is how you're going to validate yourself to me. Their priority areas to the Crusader is going to be on their mind. It's going to be on their career, because if they aren't putting this mind muscle that they've got to good use, and they aren't in control of it, and it's a good chance that they'll be burnt out mentally. Only then, when you get that stuff sorted, food and exercise really has the big move and shake that you're wanting from it. So these guys, you would think, you know, they're close to activators, so they might need a fair bit of exercise. And I've just picked up a spelling mistake, and I absolutely apologize for spelling mistakes. As a crusader, it absolutely frustrates me that there's a spelling mistake there, but I'm going to keep going anyway. For a crusader, like, it's absolutely essential they get their mind right, their career right, and like they have the right mindset around that before the food and exercise is really going to do what it's going to do. As far as motivated, they are going to be generally completely self-driven, and it's like, see you in 6 months, if ever. It'll be one of those things where if you try and get a crusader back next week, they'll be like, why would I bother coming back? I know you just showed me a bunch of exercises. I can do all those exercises myself. I've got a gym membership I'm paying for. It doesn't make sense to come back. Unless you can give them a really, really good scientific reason as to why they need to come back, they are going to want to just leave. So the idea for this kind of person is, oh man, I'm going to catch up with you in a month, because by then you'll have got through this stuff yourself. You'll be really, really good with it. You'll be completely self-driven. And then I'll see you in a month, and we're going to add some more exercises and make sure that you're leveling up and can push yourself a little bit further. And all of those types of things, the crusader is going to go, all right, well, it's about me, it's about my drive, and it's about me being like really good at things. Like, those 3 things have been ticked off, so that rewards my brain. Okay, now I can have a crack. So you can see, guys, and I'm sure that you know people right now who fit these profiles, and I haven't gone through connector and sensor just because that's a good enough example at the moment, so you can get a bit of a sense of it. Probably the most important thing with this, you know, we start talking about 6 biotrends, and it's not just 6 biotrends. It's actually 7 billion different unique individuals. And you might think, well, all we've got is 6, you know, how do we classify down? And effectively, this ph360 is about a 360-degree wheel. And at every degree, there's another slight variation on the bone structure and the genetic outlay. And that's the first layer of 15 layers of science that go into determining who this person is. And that's how we get the unique value. Now, what's really interesting is that we actually get down to the specific number. So you might have a connector, which is normally between 150 and 210 on the ph360 wheel. You'll have a 155 and you'll have a 190. They're both connectors and they're both around 180, right? But what you'll find is you'll see huge changes, or you'll see huge differences in their body composition. The 190 is going to be heavier. Often they can be, they'll have more muscle tissue, but they'll also have considerably more fat tissue as well. Their temperament is going to be much more nurturing, as opposed to the 155, who are going to be a little bit more fiery. And the optimal treatments as well are going to change. You're actually going to need different things for different people. And this is within the same group. And this is even just within a different number, not to mention then the individual variation. You'll have someone who's a 155 and another person who's a 155, and they'll look completely different, and they'll have significantly different things coming up out of their social and their talents and their foods, because there's so many other factors to play other than just the type of body that you have. So to give you an example of that, and to help you understand like sort of visually how the ph360 wheel works, you might have a predominance of, you know, look at the really thick chunk of red genes up the top there. You might have a really thick chunk about that 155 mark, but then you've got genes that extend over to the diplomat and extend over to the guardian and extend over to the activator and the crusader. You've got genes that relate to all different types of bodies, and it's that variation which makes you the unique individual. So it's not that you're all housed within one biotrend. In fact, the 15 different layers of ph360 and the way they collate the science and put it all into relevance for your client, that's what gives the individual variation. So, and you'll see vast differences in between, sometimes 5 degrees of separation. You can have a crusader who is completely cut and dry and will not have a bar of, you know, any fluff at all, like any kind of healing, feeling kind of wordage. And then 5 degrees lower, you've got a crusader who's, you know, really nurturing and really caring and puts themselves out for people all the time, which the other crusader wouldn't do. And that's with 5 degrees of separation, and that's because these things are so unique and so individualized. So I wanted to give you another example of that, and that this is the coaching panel. So there's a whole lot more information in the back end for coaches who go through and get trained up. Obviously, there's a fair bit of training involved, and we run some conferences that do that sort of stuff. But you can see here that the biotype, the 155, you can see that up in the corner there. It's representative of a 155. And this is actually a very close person in my life. And you can see the information in the coach's note says this biotrend predominantly uses the O2 area of the brain, the right occipital area. So this has got a number of things to do with how they process information, particularly visually. So this person processes a lot of their information that they see in the world visually. And when they're thinking about things, they see it visually. When they're trying to understand a person, they have to look at them. And so that type of specificity is just for the 155 and this person in particular. If we look at a 200, we can see that their active area of their brain is the left temporal area, which is not at the back at all. It's actually around on the side, and it's got a completely different function. So this is a role of sensorial social mediation. So it's like how to be a really cool, fair judge, effectively. Now, what this means, there's a couple of really pretty big brain explosion moments in this. The first is they've actually been able to map your brain to your genes and understand how you're going to process information. This is pretty revolutionary. And if you imagine you get this information after you've done the assessment on a client, you can read through this information and know this person's brain inside and out before you're actually talking to them in the second consultation. This has been absolutely revolutionary for what I've experienced in my practice. And understanding that, there's a difference between different types of connectors. And for another 200, these statements might be different again. So yes, while we talk about those 6 categories, it makes it easier to understand. It's too hard to talk about 7 billion different individuals and how their genes will come together. It's easy to talk about, biotrends, the tendencies that they have. And that's what we do. That's what we teach, because it makes it bite-sized chunks. So you can see now that, when you've got a graph like this, there is real individual variation. And, this information, there's a lot of it, and understanding how to apply the coaches panel, how to apply, the different numbers, and understanding, what different numbers are going to need, and ultimately getting the most out of an individualized program. You need a fair bit of information. And I'm going to hand over to Kyle right now, just to talk a little bit more about how you can actually learn a bit more about this.
Guys, so, hopefully by now your pens have been smoking with all the information you've been writing down throughout this 3-part series. And by now you should have a bit of a general understanding of how these biotrends work and how you can actually apply this in everyday life. What I'm going to do now is take you through what it would be like to spend a little bit more time with us to really consolidate this information and understand the finer points and the deeper details behind personalized health. We actually run a 3-day mastery series as part of ph360. This program is really designed for health professionals at all levels. So your GPs, your allied health professionals, personal trainers, dietitians, and anyone in between. So the idea is, guys, the big goal in this is to help you become a cutting-edge professional within the health industry. We're really looking for people that want to be at the forefront, that are looking to lead the charge and truly get the best results with their clients. So what I'm going to do is take you through what those 3 days look like and some of the information you're going to get along the way. So day 1. In day 1, guys, this is all around the foundations of genetics and epigenetics. So we want to make sure that you've got a good, solid understanding of the basics of these principles. So we're going to take you through those basics. We're going to go through how you can actually assess your clients in an easy way so you can understand their individual gene type and exactly what they need from an epigenetics perspective. We're also going to go into more detail on those different biotrends. We're going to talk more about the different epigenetic factors that might influence them, so you have a fuller understanding of the different food that these people might need, the different exercise protocols they're going to need, the social environment, the places. As we've said, it's that fully integrated, holistic approach, so you know exactly the type of advice that you can give to the person that's in front of you. The great thing about this, guys, is when you get out there with this information, as soon as you step back within your industry, you're going to see this straight away. You're going to see it in your work colleagues. You're going to see this in your clients, and you're going to start to be able to pick the kind of information and the advice and tailor the way you kind of approach people even with this information. So obviously it's going to be huge value to your business. It's going to be huge value in terms of the types of information and advice you can give to your clients, and of course the results you're going to get as a result of that fuller understanding. Moving on, day two. Day two is more around the coaching aspect, and I know from experience that as a personal trainer, we don't get a lot of education or practice in actually coaching from a consultation perspective. And this actually opens up a whole new kind of revenue stream and a whole new line of work for us as personal trainers. So we're actually going to teach you how to run a consultancy-based business. Speaking the language of the different biotrends for better results, obviously. So, here the main focus is being able to talk the language, as Cam has been talking about in this part of the series, being able to ensure that you're speaking at the right tone, at the right pace even, and kind of giving the information in the right way so that the client that's in front of you actually understands what you're saying, and they're able to take that information on board and utilize it effectively. This in turn obviously is going to help you build better relationships with your client. Your client's going to stay around a lot longer, and you'll know actually when to actually invite them back, how often you need to see them, so the client actually feels comfortable that you've got their best interest at heart, which obviously you have. This, of course, from a business perspective, which is important, is going to help improve your retention rate, but also from a sales point of view, in that initial consultation, if you have an idea from looking at somebody, what type of biotrend they may be, you're more able to tailor-make your approach to them, build better rapport, and that's obviously going to improve conversion rates in terms of your initial consultations. So it's pretty important stuff. We're going to teach you how to become a super coach. And as we said, this is more around how to run a consultancy-based business. So as I said, guys, this is more around behavioral change. This is more around motivational interviewing. This is the stuff that we don't really learn as personal trainers. And this is really the nuts and bolts of what's going to give you that foundation for actually running a consultancy-based business as an extra kind of stream of revenue. The great thing about this, once you understand how to coach, as previously mentioned, it's going to help with clients' results because you're able to empower them and kind of allow them to set their own goals and not overwhelm them with information and ensure you're speaking the right language. But also, you can actually use this from an online source, so you can actually Skype people, something I've done very successfully over the last couple of years. So you can work with people on the internet face to face. You don't physically have to be training them, but you can still get great levels of motivation. You can set some solid goals, and you can get true levels of change once you understand the principles behind super coaching, which is exactly what we're going to teach you. And then, guys, also finally interpreting the information in a simpler and easy to understand way for you and your clients. So we're going to ensure that it is a lot of information to take in, and I get it. Like, your minds are probably exploding from the three-part series so far, and we want to really ensure that you get it and that you understand it and that you're able to relay this information in easy to understand ways to your clients so that they get the best results. And we want the best results, obviously, to you and your business, so we're going to ensure that that's in there as well. Overall, guys, the whole purpose of day two is to turn you into that super coach so you can speak the right language to your clients, so you understand how to run a consultancy business, and that you actually understand the information so you get the best results moving forward for your business and for your client. Moving on to day three, which actually segues quite nicely, is actually talking more of the business principles. So actually this is all about how to incorporate ph360 into your current practice as a PT, exercise instructor, whatever it is you're doing right now. How to work things like online consultations, the cost of the different services and how you might package that up. And myself and Cam have got a lot of experience in that through running with the program. More things such as, protection of your scope. So actually understanding how you can talk things like nutrition and how you can talk things like social and the places and all these different things without stepping outside of your scope. The biggest things we're looking at here is protection of you for your business to ensure that you're giving the right information. And I suppose the great thing about ph360 is you can always be confident that you are giving the right information when you stick to the guidelines that the program's actually giving to you. So you can always be confident in that. But it's more around the way you word certain things. And if you do get a few sticky situations or there's a few areas that are outside of your scope of expertise, it's ensuring that we can give you the right tools and the right advice and the right resources to actually give the best information to your clients so they get the best result. That leads me nicely onto our last part, and that's integrating you guys into our community of worldwide experts. We've got guys in all different professions, like the gurus in all the major different professions over the world. So from your PTs and your personal trainers, your doctors and your psychologists, your life coaches, your dietitians. So we're building this big community of healthcare professionals worldwide so that we can ensure that whenever anyone gets stuck, because you know, we've all got our own areas of expertise. You know, a doctor, for example, may not be able to write as good as an exercise program as a personal trainer can. So if there's any issues around exercise, then we're going to refer clients from the doctor to the personal trainer. The personal trainer can't write a nutrition plan as well as a dietitian can. So as a result, whenever we need anything like that, we're going to pass our client on to the dietitian to get the best possible diet plan for them. So the idea here is that we're integrating each other and our expertise into one big community, so we can always reach out and get the best resources for the client that's in front of us to give them the best result. So that way you're going to feel very supported throughout your journey in using this, and everybody gets better along the way. So guys, as you can see, the 3 days, there's a wealth of information to learn. There's plenty of value on offer. We're not just talking about giving you information and letting you run with it on your own. We're teaching you how to coach effectively. There's going to be case studies. There's going to be role plays of you actually coaching this stuff as well, so you can really cement your learning. And more importantly as well, we're going to teach the business side of things, which is something that I know from experience, especially teaching personal trainers on a day in, day out basis. I know that personal trainers struggle when it comes to business, and they do struggle with that kind of, they think client first, business second, and sometimes we actually have to step back and actually work on the business and put our business first, because we can be the best health professional in the world, but if we've not got clients in front of us to work with, then it doesn't really matter. So we're going to make sure that we cover all aspects so that you really can run with this when you leave. So there's a lot of value in terms of this 3 days. Your investment into this 3-day mastery series is actually only $1,497. We actually feel like we're giving this away to people right now. The reason why it is at such a great price right now is because we're looking at really branching out to the leading health experts around the world. We're looking at finding those people that are at the cutting edge, that want to learn more, that want to be the best they can in their industry, so we can actually get this out as far and wide as possible. Because at the end of the day, it comes back to the client, and it comes back to helping people with the health and giving people the best information possible to ensure that they get the best results. And that's what it's been about for me all the way through. I mean, for me, I said this in probably part one, and for me, it's always been around, I've always believed that we've had control of our health, and I've never been able to kind of settle with, or it's just your genes, or it's just this, and there's nothing we can do. I'm always the type of practitioner and health professional that wants to find out more, and I'm always looking to leave no stone unturned to find the true answer to what's going on with the person in front of me. And that's been a real passion of mine, and I think it's that kind of constant drive and desire and real mission to find that which has got me on this road with ph360, because this is exactly what these guys are about. It's about finding the right answers and not leaving any stone unturned to ensure our clients get the best results and can live optimally for their body. It's being able to live through your genetic strengths and suppressing your genetic weaknesses, meaning that we're actually in control of our genes and we do have control over our health outcomes, which is exactly the message I'm trying to spread. My mission, I always say, is to educate and empower people in taking control of their health and happiness. And I believe that is exactly what we're doing through ph360. And that's what I want to educate and empower you guys to do out there through this 3-day mastery series. So I'm really looking forward to working with you guys on this. Just to kind of add on our journey of trying to spread this message and really improve the quality of healthcare professionals out there, ph360 is more than just a 3-day mastery series. There is continual education from all of the best experts in their respective fields from around the world. And this continual education is working around the clock to ensure that everybody gets up to speed and everyone's speaking that same message at the forefront of the health industry. To help you guys get up to speed with that, we're going to help you become an elite coach and really fast track you there. So at the end of the 3-day mastery series, we're not just going to leave it at that. We're going to actually work with you for 12 weeks afterwards and beyond in ensuring that you get the best information, that you continually updated, that you know exactly where you need to be, and you're at the forefront to get the best results for your clients. So in our 12-week coaching program, post-course, we're actually going to give you more information on biotrends. So we're actually going to continue to update you on extra little bits of information to ensure that you can proficiently deliver the specific genetic information within your coaching sessions. We're going to help you with we're going to deepen your understanding of genetics in practice, because, we know we can only teach you so much in 3 days. And this stuff, you can go as far down the rabbit hole as you want. And I think I've had a realization, the crusader in me always wants to know why, and I'm always trying to learn more. And I'm always trying to, I want to be the expert in everything. And I've realized very quickly that through ph360 that I'll probably never learn all there is to know about the human body in my lifetime. But through ph360, I can get pretty damn close. And that's what we intend to do with everyone that we're working with, is give them the best information, continually updating that to deepen your understanding. And you can really take it as far as you want to. And then you've got obviously other experts around you that can help you along the way where you need it too. And then overall, guys, obviously that's going to help to optimize your programs within your expert field too. Don't forget that you've got your expert field right now in personal training, and this is going to help optimize your programs and your prescriptions and that even further. But more importantly, it's actually going to help you to optimize your programs from a completely personalized point of view as well. So for example, if you've got a diplomat client coming, through ph360, you're actually going to realize that exercise isn't actually the first thing that you need to be focusing on with this person. It's going to be more around the environmental factors. So just knowing this kind of stuff and deepening your understanding and knowledge is going to help you get the most efficient and quickest results with your client, rather than kind of speaking that one message all the time. So it's really going to add more strings to the bow for you as a trainer. From a behavioural standpoint, as we've already talked about, we're going to take it one step further and teach you guys how to actually move people into motivation. You guys will know, for those that are working in the industry right now, it's all cruisy when you've got a client that's actually following the information you give them. But as soon as you get a client that struggles with some of the goals that you set, or has a few barriers in place, it can get quite difficult. And this is where you need to be a little bit more of a coach and a little bit more of a motivator, and to actually help them progress through those barriers. And again, this is something that is not spent anywhere near enough time on, in personal training in general. We focus on our training, but we never actually focus on motivational interviewing, or how to actually move people past barriers, or how to instill habits long term. And Dr. Cam is an absolute genius when it comes to the mind, and working as in that more lifestyle coaching and life coaching consultancy role. And he's amazing at helping people move over barriers and moving them into that motivation to keep on habits long term. And not only Cam, we've got experts and gurus from all over the world that specialize in these areas, that we're going to have special guest appearances from in terms of webinars and seminars, to really help consolidate your learning and take your learning to that next level, so you can really be the best coach that you can be. This obviously is going to help increase your retention rate through better client care, and we'll even talk finer points of that as well. We'll talk about how to follow up certain clients and the business structures that myself and Cam have used over the years that have been really successful. I mean, you get to learn from our mistakes and kind of learn from what we've done wrong, so we can actually help you hit the ground running when you're out there in the industry working with people. So it's a real shortcut, as we've said, into a complete coaching model, consolidating, years and years of research and years of practical experience working with clients from some of the best kind of experts around the world. We're really shortcutting that and fast tracking you guys to give you the best possible run with this. And as we said before, business, taking it to that next level with your business. We're going to be helping you with business planning. We're going to help you with the actual basic principles and the foundation kind of planning process that you do to succeed in small business. Cam and myself, both from small and large businesses, so we've both got a lot of experience in this. And again, not only ourselves, we're drawing on resources for some of the top business experts around the world, and a few of the gurus within business, to help us bring this package together to ensure that you get the best information. We're also going to teach you to become a social force to be reckoned with. So this is all around social media and online training. A lot of people have blogs and landing pages, but they actually don't really know what they're doing with them. There's a graveyard out there right now of blogs and websites that are started off with great intentions, but didn't actually turn into anything valuable or come to fruition. So our goal there is to really help you to understand how to model an acquisition funnel and take it from social media through to a landing page to generate more leads for your business, and actually have a true strategy in place to help you build your business up and keep clients coming in. And then also, guys, the biggest thing that we want to focus on here as well is keeping you in the loop and keeping you networking with some of the leaders in the field. Again, as we said before, we want you to have the best information and the best advice on hand. So we're really going to integrate you and ensure that you integrate with some of the best professionals, so you can get you're always in tune with help, you can get the best advice, and you can ensure that your client gets the best possible outcome. So as you can see, guys, there's so much value in this. We're not just kind of putting you through 3 days of a crash course and then leaving you to it. Our goal is to make sure you are the best healthcare professional that you can be, to give the best results to your client. And this is continuing education. 12 weeks and beyond, we're going to be continuing to keep you up to date to be the best possible practitioner you can be. So as you can see, guys, large amounts of value, and for your investment for this 3-day mastery series, it is only $1,497. So this is definitely something, if you are looking at taking your career to that next level, if you are looking at getting the best possible outcome for your clients and helping your clients really understand how their body works and what's right for them, and helping them to end the frustration and your frustration as a practitioner, so you're not, having that 20% of people sitting there in that non-responder category, not knowing what to do. It's really going to help and take you to that next level to ensure that you get the best results. What I'm going to do now, guys, is pass you on to Cam, just so he can give you a little bit more hands-on kind of practical information about how this has helped him with integrating into his business, and just to give you some real tangible kind of foothold into what it can do for yours too.
Cool. Thanks, Carl. I guess being a health professional, I guess I spent a lot of years at uni. I did 10 years of uni, I think I've mentioned before, and none of that was training in business. None of it was training in, how I actually run a successful practice. After working with ph360, it's ultimately like riding upon the shoulders of giants. And the reason why I say that, like, that's a Google thing, standing on the shoulders of giants is what Google Scholar is all about. It's like, with our vast information, you can actually just take the information that you need and apply it in the best way that you can. And like, when we start talking about comprehensive program considerations, I was sitting down with a junior dietitian just the other day, and she was asking about career options and talking about, maybe I want to understand a little bit about IBS and how that works. And then I explained to her that for a different type of body, IBS is going to be related to how her brain is working, and then what kind of quiet time she's getting through the day, and related to the stomach digestion, acid production that's going to be happening in that body, and even right into how she's got to cook those foods to make sure she can reduce the IBS, and then how she's got to maybe even do some monitored breathing before she comes into a meal that helps with her digestion. Again, like, when you start talking about IBS, a lot of people just think, I've got to change the food. In fact, it's not that. I've actually got to change the whole system, and the IBS will go away. Understanding that is actually something that's achievable for everybody who comes through these courses. And the reason is because people like myself are teaching these courses who have the experience and have the understanding to help you really get the most out of this program. So, it took me a number of years, like 24 months probably, of like heavy skepticism before, I saw, a good 150 people. And then, like, now, and the Crusader is just a very, very skeptical person anyway. Now, I just, after teaching these principles and knowing these principles, I see people pick this program up and just literally run with it and get incredible results, the same kind of results that I get after 3 years of practicing with this, and 8 years of general practice before that as well. So understanding really what's going on for a person is this comprehensive thing. We think we've got a comprehensive exercise program by incorporating like some stretching. It's just taking comprehensive to the whole new level. Having better relationships with your clients, like, it is just out of sight what's happened to the relationships that I have with clients. I know that I can comfortably hug a guardian or a connector at the end of the consultation. And even though we're kind of taught not to do that, having that physical contact for them is actually absolutely critical. And it makes them feel incredible when you share that. And ultimately, a hug is just another form of a handshake, really. But knowing that I can place that in and do it in a way that's authentic, it actually makes for a better relationship with that person. And that's a really, really small example, but probably a more personal example for me is that it's improved the relationship that I have with my dad. So my dad is a connector. I'm a Crusader. Connectors just like being social for the sake of being social. They just like hanging out and having time. Crusaders like having time to do productive work, and that's all. So my brain is thinking, what should I be doing right now? What should I be working on next? And Dad comes over and just hangs out and says, oh, hey, what's going on? And before, it used to bother me. I said, Dad, I've got to work, like stop interrupting me. But now I know that all he needs is a bit of connection. And I set my purpose to providing that connection for him. And so we just have a bit of banter. We spend a bit of time together. He's happy, and it really strengthens our relationship. And at the same time, I haven't got frustrated because I knew what he needed, and I knew how I needed to give that. And similarly, he understands a lot more about what my requirements are from a focus point of view, and from, being productive at all times of the day, all that sort of stuff. So, for me personally, it's actually changed the relationships that I have. It's helped me understand like a bunch of very important people in my life to a level that I just didn't. And it's through accepting that people are different. So that's been really huge. And probably, this really took it out of me, because as a crusader and just as the person I am, like doing the research that I did, I thought the more that I know, the better, and I've just got to strive to know everything on the planet, and then, I'll be the best. Ultimately, there is no time in this world for me to be able to see clients, me to be able to have family, me to be able to have social life, and still try and learn all of the knowledge in the world. It doesn't work. All of that information is kind of taken care of, and I can apply my experience from practice and use ph360 as an incredibly powerful tool just to remove the guesswork out of which foods are going to be right for a person in winter versus summer. There's no way my brain can calculate that. I sit here confidently with clients saying, this is better for you in winter because of X. And I don't even have to know the reason, but I know that the ph360 is actually considered climate, and it has considered their hormonal status, and it's considered their ancestry, their heritage. It's considered their current risk profile for health. It's considered what foods they need and how that's going to calculate it. It's with all that consideration, I then just get to practice the art of motivating my clients to get the best results that they can, because I'm not having to guess, what's the next best thing that I should be doing for their food, for their exercise program, et cetera, et cetera. So that for me that's been the real standing on shoulders of giants. Is like there have been some of the smartest individuals that I would argue in the world have been working on this platform and behind the scenes that I've had the absolute honor of working with for the last couple of years when I've been able to get over international. And, as a result, I feel so confident being able to deliver this. And, I guess 250, 300 clients later, it's such an easy decision for me to trust the program, because I see result after result after result after result. And this is so much more than what I could have done, that I was doing with standard dietetics, with standard exercise physiology, because it wasn't understanding that whole comprehensive nature of things. So guys, if you're thinking about what next, what am I going to do with this? How do I get involved? Pretty much, if you're ready to go right now, you can jump onto www.ph360.me/mastery series. There's a website with a heap of information about the conference, about what the 3-day mastery series looks like. So you can get a really good feel for it, and you can register right there straight away. Down the bottom of the page, you'll find a whole list of the different cities internationally that you can go to. So if you want to actually take a holiday and go and learn from some international guys, that's awesome. You can do that. Or you can go local as well. And, you can, if you want to get in earlier, then you can just travel to a city that's happening earlier. But we really aim to look for the big centers so that we can give you as much opportunity as possible to get there. If you're wanting a bit more information on this whole thing before making a decision, we actually have a free half day, it's like a 2.5-hour workshop, which really gets you up close to the program. That's in person. It's in a number of different cities around the world once again, and it really allows you to just digest this information. So if there's an inner diplomat inside you and you're needing a bit more rumination time on decisions, we totally get it. And we're looking for health professionals who are serious about this. When I was at this stage, definitely I was like, let's do this. I need to find out more about this information straight away. And so I got into it. But we know that there's people out there who absolutely need a bit more information, a bit of person-to-person question time as well. Everyone's got questions. And so that gives you an opportunity to do that too. So you can register for this event at healthevents.ph360.me/register now, and that'll give you a list of the cities that it's in and a number of and the times that it's on as well. And that's an absolutely free event, just like this webinar series. Like, this is about spreading the word and helping you understand that personalized health is what it's all about. And that really brings me to the big finish, guys. Like, this whole thing is based on ending chronic disease and pain by the year 2050. The reason why ph360 was created was for this purpose in particular. Like, it's to get rid of disease. It's to start focusing people on their optimal health. Like, you imagine being part of that movement. That is what I feel like I'm doing every single day. And when I see people come out of chronic disease, when I see people come out of pain, it becomes a reality. And it's not through doing anything magically special. It's actually just understanding genes, epigenetics, and using this tool in conjunction with my experience to get really, really incredible results. Like, this is a worldwide phenomenon. It is happening there are people on ph360 in 89 different countries around the world. It's absolutely widespread, and it's only 3 years old. This is an absolutely phenomenal mission. It's the drive behind it and the people behind it are all focused just on getting the world as healthy as possible. And that's what's really drawn me to it, because that's something that I've always wanted to do. I set my goal 6 years ago now, and it was to create a culture where the healthy choice is easy and obvious. And, you know, when you've got a list of foods saying this is the food that you need to have, and a social output saying this is the way you interact socially best, it becomes so obvious. And then the fact that this thing is on an app, and I just look at my app, it makes it so easy and accessible. And then when you start talking about talking to people the right way, the way they communicate to them as well, it just makes it easier again. Everyone is different. That is another huge message in this. And what's so funny about this whole thing is my dad, he's not real on detail. He's a connector. So he's all about trust and connection. He's not so much on detail. And he was describing one of his mates who sure was a crusader. And he was saying, like, as soon as I figured out he was a crusader, I actually just accepted him for who he was. And it turns out he's not a crusader at all. But the whole thing is that he understood that people are different. And when you understand that people are different, it actually gives you a place where you can relate to them, because you're different as well. And if we just took a little bit of that knowledge and just applied that to all of our interactions, saying, people are going to act differently, and people are going to respond differently, and people aren't going to respond exactly the way I would have liked or would have thought would be most obvious. That realization is going to open your business up, and it actually opens up our whole culture as well, which is really, really exciting. When we are talking about how you can use this in practice, like, just take notice. Just, if you do nothing more than just observe these relationships in practice, you will find that you cannot stop observing this way. And once you get there, you'll realize how important it is for stuff to be personalized. If you haven't sort of being able to relate to anybody or like any different biotrends throughout these last 3 webinars, I'd find it very strange, because number of people I've spoken to about this, like the thousands of people that I've lectured and the thousands of people I've consulted, I guess in collection or in combination, I guess. There are people in their lives who absolute dead ringers for these biotrends. And if you don't take notice of this, if you don't personalize your programs around this, you're going to be missing a whole chunk of these populations, but also you're not going to be getting the results they actually want. And the last thing is that change should be occurring in the client as much as your program. So this whole platform evolves with the client, and as they change, so will the outputs. And this is how the world is when a person changes, they're going to respond differently. And when they respond differently, it means they can tolerate more or tolerate less if they're more stressed. And if you're not aware of these changes and the same program is happening over and over again, it's going to cause issue, or they're going to have plateaus. Knowing that people have got to change is absolutely essential. And this is just honoring that change in people and giving them a guide so that they can do it, so that they can keep growing to be the best version of themselves possible, and not just cap out at the end of, like the maximum they can get out of one program. This program will lift as they lift and become more varied as they need more variety. With all of these things, with these types of realizations, ending chronic disease and pain by 2050 is actually possible if we have enough people joining the crusade with us, if I can use a word that relates to my biotrend. This is about taking health to the next level. It's going to happen in the next couple of years. This movement is already underway around the world. It just depends on whether you would like to be part of that. And if you're a health professional who have the interests of your clients at heart, it'll be very, very hard for you not to look at this platform a little bit more seriously and really see what this science can do for your practice. So with that, guys, have an absolutely fantastic day or night wherever you are in the world, and we look forward to seeing you at one of our events coming up soon. We'll see you then.